Alright, our next rule of exponents is called the quotient rule. It's very similar to the product rule. So the quotient rule says that if we have two exponents with the same base divided by each other, we can simplify this by keeping that same base and simply subtracting the exponents from one another. So let's look at an example. If we had x to the fifth divided by x to the third, we can simplify this by the quotient rule to x to the power of 5 minus 3, or x squared. So this rule also makes a lot of sense in the same logic that the product rule makes sense. So I should never erase that, I'll rewrite it. X to the fifth over x to the third. Let's use the same example and I'll expand this out to illustrate why this makes sense. So x to the fifth we know is x multiplied by itself 5 times. So we can rewrite that like this, over x to the third, which is x multiplied by itself 3 times. So you'll notice here that 3 pairs of these x's are going to cancel out, because whenever we have the same thing in the numerator and the denominator of a fraction, we can cancel that out. So that leaves us with nothing in the denominator, so I'm going to write a 1 here as a placeholder, just because we can always multiply by 1, it doesn't change anything. So we're left here with x times x in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, which is equal to x squared over 1, and anything divided by 1 is itself. So this simplifies to x squared. So that's an illustration of why this quotient rule makes sense. So let's look at one more example. Let's look at the expression 3 divided by 3 to the fifth power. So anytime we have a standalone number without an exponent, we can assume that there's an exponent of 1 here, because anything to the power of 1 is itself. So by the quotient rule, we can say that this is equal to 3 to the power of 1 minus 5, which is equal to 3 to the power of negative 4. So you'll recall from our negative exponent lesson that a negative exponent in the numerator is a positive exponent in the denominator. So we can say that 3 to the power of negative 4, and let's add a 1 here because we can always multiply by 1, it doesn't change anything. 3 to the power of negative 4 is equal to the 3 to the power of 4 goes in the denominator, and we flip the sign of the exponent, and we keep our 1 in the numerator. So 3 to the power of negative 4 is equal to 1 over 3 to the fourth. And if you wanted to expand this out, you could say this is equal to 1 over 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, or 1 over 81. And that is the quotient rule.